And that is Scorpio energy. And that's how we change and transform it and become that Phoenix rising. This is our video for the March solar eclipse. We're going to talk about the sign that it's in. We're going to deep dive on the meanings, right? Planets, the degrees, the nodes, all of that. Ready? All right, so here is your eclipse, March 29th. Hopefully you can see the date. No, you cannot see the date. You can now, March 29th, 2025. Remember, this is a solar eclipse. This is a solar eclipse. This is a new moon eclipse. That's what a solar eclipse is. It's when the sun and the moon are together, okay? That's what it means. You got the sun and the moon together in Aries at 9 degrees. And it's like 9 degrees exactly. The minutes are 00. I saw that and I thought, wow, like this is it shouldn't be too confusing, kind of straightforward. Doesn't carry any other energy blending in with it with those 0 degree minutes. So it's just a pure 9 degrees, and there's a midpoint included with this eclipse. I'm going to go all the way across because it's in Aries. That's what the red is for. Don't get concerned and be like, oh my God, it's all red. What people freak out like a red check mark in school. That's just the ruler, the ruler's color. Who's the ruler of this eclipse? Mars. You know why Mars is the ruler, right? Yeah, because Mars rules Aries. So the red signifies Mars, the planet Mars. It can be intense, can be powerful. We can be quite passionate about something or someone. Aries energy is freedoms. Our freedoms, my individuality, my ability to do something solo, my ability to choose what I want to do with my body, right? It's also my appearance. So there's a lot more to go through here, and we're going to get to the rest of that. But I want you to just see the setup, okay? So I mentioned the midpoint. It's a Jupiter-Pluto midpoint. You see that? Jupiter and Pluto together at 9 degrees. You see that? And what else? We have Mercury. Mercury already started her retrograde, and she's at 0 degrees. So this energy, even though Mercury's not at 9, right? She's at 0. So she's going to be part of the story. She's going to be part of it. Okay. Now, let's back this up for a second so you can see the whole picture. I didn't draw a lot of lines, trying to keep this just focused really on just the new moon itself, because there's already kind of a lot built in here. The energy for the new moon brings about an opportunity to work with basically the law of attraction, right? The power of the mind and the thinking, the law of attraction. And some use Mars energy strictly just physically. When we see people doing things, crazy shit, or we see athletics and sports, or even just you taking action, like my physical body, it's time for me to get up and get out of bed energy. That's Mars. It's your body. When you're asleep, that's Mars and Pisces, right? I'm asleep, Mars and Pisces. Or I'm kind of dreamy and fantastical with the actions that I take. But Mars is normally very physical and wants to kind of be leading the way. So sometimes because it wants to be leading the way, many people will kind of recognize the Mars energy in another because it's assertive, it's aggressive, it has it's got no patience, right? It gets easily irritated. Well, that's kind of hard energy to work with. And so when you see someone come along, or somebody, maybe a sibling or a coworker or a neighbor or a classmate, I'm only saying this because Mercury's at 0 degrees, those people that I just said, because those are siblings, coworkers, neighbors, classmates. That's all Mercury. And it's aggressive communications. You follow? Strong communication. Freedom of speech. Mercury in Aries. Freedom to think the way I want to think, to speak the way I want to speak. Even though we've learned how freedom of speech can be taken and really just like a fishing pole, and you just swing it on out there and you pray to God nobody nabs you for what you said, type of thing. We've seen a lot of craziness. So we know that sometimes freedom of speech can be used and abused, and then there will be consequences, or at least there should be. So your physical body, but also your head, right? Literally the physical head. You see a lot of Aries people kind of charge into a project. They might not even pay attention, right? Good example, small, quick, good example. This wasn't even a project. We did one of those dinosaur trek things they have, because they literally have the footprints of dinosaurs in some of the locations in Texas. Like, holy shit, right? Really cool. Anyway, so you can go walking, but it's like a preserved area, right? They know, like, they've got these beautiful archaeological finds here, and they want to kind of keep it pristine. So they do guided tours through there. And so we went on this guided tour, right? And so it was physical. We were walking the whole time, right? It was physical. And on one of the locations, either we were coming or going of that same hike, there was, like, stepping stones, because that's kind of what the hike was. There was no, like, path, which is why you needed the guided tour, right? There was no path. So you're walking in, like, all sorts of different terrain. Not that it was extremely physically difficult, it wasn't. I was walking on stones, and they were enough for, like, 1 foot on each stone, walking through some water, but there were stepping stones, right? So that's what I was doing. I enjoyed that. And it was kind of like just me killing some time. I don't know if we were taking a break. I don't know what the hell we were doing, but here I was by myself, Mars, kind of walking on these stepping stones in this water. And I had just been so focused on each stone and each step that there was a spot where you kind of get to the last stone. And remember, this wasn't designed this way. This was just being in nature. And so I got to the last stone and I was about to take the next step. And it was like, oh my God, there's no more stones. There was nowhere for me to step. So I realized, well, there was nothing for me to do but turn around and go backwards. So that's what I did. Well, I didn't realize this, but somebody was kind of watching what I was doing, and they started chuckling. They kind of started to laugh a little bit. And it wasn't like a mean thing. It was just simply them observing. I wonder what she's booking through them stepping stones. I wonder what she's going to do when she gets to the last one. I wonder how far ahead she's paying attention, because I was like Mars. I was kind of like, just let's do this, baby. I was charging, head down, going. And that's what it was. That's an example of the head down, and you kind of just go in. The Mars people are kind of like those front linemen on the defensive end and even on the offensive end, where they kind of just got to put their head and their shoulders down, and they know they're going to be ramming. They know they're going to be ramming, and that's Mars. That's Aries energy, the ram, right? That's the animal, the ram. So I didn't look ahead, and so nothing major happened, but it was just that it was kind of funny, because my short-sightedness, basically, or lack of short-sightedness. Anyway, I forget, long, near, whatever the hell. I forgot what the hell, which one means what anymore. But I had just turned around and went right back. It was not a big deal at all. It was fine. Again, it was not a really physically challenging thing. And this was, yeah, I had no problem. So um, it was me just not looking down the path a little bit further. And I mean, it's not like I would have needed binoculars or anything. I was just all excited to be in nature and enjoying the adventure, the challenge, feeling like, oh, you're where dinosaurs walk. So you're like, in your mind, it's like, God, I wonder when was the last time somebody walked on here, type of thing, even though they give tours daily, hourly, I should say. They give tours hourly, but when you're in a historic location, you kind of feel like you're stepping back in time and through a portal, or you're just kind of possibly somewhere where no one else has been. And that kind of gives that vibrational pioneer energy. There's something quite freeing and liberating about that. And so that's Mars. That's Mars. It's great to be a leader, but as you saw, if I had people behind me following me, think about this now. There was only stepping stones, 1 foot per stone, 1 foot per stone, not one person, 1 foot. If I had people behind me, right, we could have collided, sure. And I can't remember if the water was deep or not. I don't think it was. I think it was super shallow water. But a matter of fact, it might not even have been water. We might have even been in mud or something because I just remember the stones. So anyway, but if there had been people following me, it could have been a problem then, you see. So that's the thing with Mars energy. It does take a while to grow up because it finally, eventually, one day, it uses its eyes and it looks ahead. You see, it looks ahead and it realizes that it's not, there you can only go so far. You can only go so far by just using your body. You got to use your eyes, your whole body, and definitely the head. And once you can use your head and you can think about things and make decisions and think before you act, Mars energy. Think before I leap. Think, right? Look and think before you leap. That's the lesson of Mars energy. I think I said the date, March 29th, right? I said the end of the month. But remember, because it's a new moon, we're also paying attention to the time because the belief is with new moons that those hours of power can be super powerful. And so we'll talk about that more in a little bit. But a lot of you already understand, you already know where I'm going with it. You already understand about the hours of power. And if for some reason I don't mention it, somebody put it in the comments. Gee, can you go over that? I didn't hear it in the video, blah, blah, blah. All right. So I've got Pluto marked. I've got the anti-vertex, which means vertex is marked. So with Pluto, there's history. There's history, the past. With the vertex points, fate. Fate. Soul energy. Pluto is soul energy. The vertex energy is soul energy. It is people, it's help, it's assistance, it's a change that happens and it just kind of suddenly happens. One door closes, another one opens type of thing. Somebody leaves my life and then somebody comes in my life, right? That's the vertex and it's part of this. So I'll go into a little bit further on that in a second. I have the letters WAP involved here, and that's for the World Access Point because Mercury is on the World Access Point for this eclipse. The eclipse itself, a solar eclipse, it brings about a new beginning. It's a new moon solar eclipse. Okay. So you kind of treat it like every other new moon, which is a beginning of some sort, a kickoff point, right? What are we starting? Well, it's a big start. It's a big start because it's in Aries, and Aries is the torch. Aries is the Olympic flame being carried, and then we light the new one in the new city, right? Like that's Aries energy. And it's not exactly like it, so don't quote me on that, even though I just said that, but because the torch doesn't really stay lit all the time. The flame gets a lot smaller, doesn't it? And they end up carrying it from one location to another. The heat kicked on, and I'm talking about Mars and Aries, and boy, am I getting hot talking about it. Okay, so that's Mars. You get fired up. Your passion, your desire, not your desires, but your passions, what you'll fight for. You won't back down with your Mars energy. Super courageous Mars energy. It's the fighter. It's born for war. It's the soldier. It's the soldier. Yeah. So with soldier energy, we have 9 degrees here. And the 9 degrees, I know when I'm recording this video, beginning of January. No, we're in mid-January now. And there is a peace talk. And maybe it's not a peace talk, but a ceasefire talk. They are, I don't know the exact names of what those terms are, but they're different. Yeah, they're not the same thing. One doesn't mean the war is over. All right. And so I'm only mentioning this because we're in Aries energy and fighting. So when I think of wars, of course, we think Gaza, right? We think of what's going on over there. We think of Russia and Ukraine. 9 degrees can be foreigners in foreign lands and foreign languages. So Jupiter is a factor in this degree So we kind of got to get Jupiter drawn in here. The beliefs. What do you believe about your future? The future of fighting, the future of wars. I know I've been hearing a lot about drone, like mega drone factories opening up. Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of that. And that's Jupiter because it's about flight. It's about flight, but it's also about being wise, being wise. And it's about the actions and taking actions with something I refuse to back down about. But the beliefs that you have are going to be huge when it comes to this. So it's a new beginning, possibly a new belief about your body, about freedoms, freedom of speech, TikTok, of course. I'm not even going to go any further than that. Am I growing my Mars energy up? Am I paying attention? Right? Am I looking before I speak? Am I looking before I leap? Right? Am I paying attention and am I going to use my thought, my brain, my head? Am I going to think it through first before I take action, before I speak? You see? So, this energy for this new moon, I'm optimistic with it in multiple ways. 9 degrees can be very optimistic. It's Jupiter. And where's Jupiter in the chart? Sitting right here in Gemini still. It's here until June. Okay. But here it is. And it's sitting here, sitting pretty at 15 degrees, which is the Gemini degree. This is the mind degree. So this is planning for the future, thinking about my future. Wise Jupiter. This could be you thinking about vacations, right? How do I feel free? Everybody's idea of a vacation is different. Everybody's idea of freedoms and how, independent action. But Mars and Aries is also how I look. It's literally what you see when you look at me, like that first impression, because it's just based on my hair, the kind of clothes I wear. Is she wearing makeup? Why doesn't she wear makeup? Right? Like it's that whole thing. And not to mention the most obvious one, skin color and gender. So the Jupiter and that 15 degrees and the freedoms and the justice system. That's what Jupiter is supposed to represent, the justice system. Okay. It can also it can also bring up thoughts and beliefs about religion and spirituality. Religion and spirituality. That's Jupiter. It can also be college education. Are we going back to school? Are we taking extended education? So we think college educators, we think people who are literally going and taking courses to get more knowledge, more wisdom, Jupiter energy, right? Really wise, but it's also the energy of publishing. I'm publishing something. So I've got more arrows here. That was the 9 degrees. I'm pretty sure some of you have more keywords that we can throw in for the 9 degrees. The airlines, right? Going on vacation. You want to make plans? You want to utilize this new moon, especially when it comes to you thinking about your future and your physical body. And so it could have to literally do with your physical body in terms of your health and your well-being. Right? The actions that you take, because it's Aries energy and it's ruled by Mars. Now, the Mercury at the 0 degrees on this day, that's a big deal because this is just a one-day event in terms of this is when the eclipse is, okay? So if Mercury's at 0, that's usually 0 or 29 can be like a crisis point. And this 0 degrees is the world axis point, okay? So when I say the world axis point, and it's Aries, so it is really literally a very powerful, bold kickoff point. Very powerful, bold kickoff point because it includes the world access point. Now there's four, because it's a cardinal sign. So there's four access points in your chart, and it's the 0 degree of each of the cardinal signs. So those cardinal signs, cardinal normally just means something begins. That's the cardinal energy. It is a kickoff point in general, right? So Cancer would be, it's a beginning about Cancer energy, mom, home, family, feelings, emotions, maybe having babies, right? The mother wound type of stuff. The public, maybe housing and homes, right? But this is in Aries, okay? The Libra one would be the same thing, a beginning with relationships, right? Significant one-on-one relationships, business and marriage. And then Capricorn would be my new goal, my career. What am I working towards? What am I building? My long-term tangible material security. But 0 degrees in Aries is the world access point because this is the first world access point. You follow?